The Apple HomePod was released exactly 2 years ago this month and still costs a pretty penny. I'm going to give you my personal opinion on whether the Apple HomePod is the right speaker for you and if it's still worth buying in 2020. The HomePod was announced way back in June of 2017 and then actually wasn't launched until February 9th of 2018. This is actually the second time Apple has dabbled into the home audio business, the first time being the iPod Hi-Fi, released back in 2006. This speaker was quickly discontinued after only a year of production, mainly receiving criticism for its high price, being more expensive than other similar products out at the same time, and for the lack of AM and FM radio. It also used the 30-pin dock connector, which has become obsolete for newer devices, but the HomePod is a little different. This was Apple's answer to the lack of smart speaker in their product lineup. In an attempt to compete with the Google Home and the Amazon Alexa, both smart speakers already making huge waves in the industry, selling hundreds of millions of units. Although the HomePod may not be the smartest speaker around, what Siri and the HomePod lack in functionality make up for tenfold in sound quality. With a high peak volume with no audio distortion, deep bass, and clear mids, this speaker is an amazing piece of technology and ingenuity from Apple, having the small footprint that it does. With a diameter of a 2-liter bottle and being an inch shorter than your average water bottle, this thing puts out crazy good sound in an extremely compact form factor. And for you audio buffs, here are some of the specs of the Apple HomePod. I don't know what half of this means, but I'm sure it's good. In classic Apple fashion, unboxing the device is a smooth experience, and the speaker is presented essentially on a pedestal. I really like the build quality of the speaker with what Apple calls 3D mesh fabric. It seems that Apple has created a fantastic sounding speaker that's arguably timeless due to its simplistic design and a lack of any ports whatsoever. One of my gripes with the speaker is that it isn't portable. It has to be plugged into a wall all the time to function, which is fine considering that it is a home speaker, but it would have been nice to also have the option of a rechargeable battery. I also wish Siri was a little smarter and was better at answering questions for me more accurately. Siri does get better with firmware updates, but I feel that the Google Assistant has the edge in functionality, and me not having to talk like a robot for my smart assistant to understand what I'm saying.
Hey Siri, power off.
HomePod doesn't have an off switch, but I can turn off Hey Siri if you like.
No, that's okay.
My final complaint is that it doesn't have Bluetooth. Well, sort of. It has Bluetooth 5.0, which is nice to see, but it only works with Apple devices that support AirPlay. I feel not having open connectivity to non-Apple devices may hurt the HomePod's longevity and ultimately sales, only selling between 1 to 3 million since its release, which is quite the range, and also significantly less than the competitors. But remember, you're getting great audio and a decent smart assistant. Oh yeah, and the price. In February of 2018, the HomePod was being sold for $349, which is actually how much the iPod Hi-Fi was sold for back in 2006. But $350 then was a lot more than $350 now. But that's still pretty expensive. In April of 2019, however, just over a year after its release, instead of discontinuing the product, Apple dropped the price of the HomePod by $50, taking it down to $299. A bit more affordable, but still steep for a lot of consumers. Sound quality is amazing, and this is probably the best sounding speaker I've ever owned. And I love the design. And say what you will about some of Apple's design choices, it's hard to argue that Apple's design team definitely knows how to make a unique looking product. I think that if you're a true Apple fan, this is an easy cop regardless of the price. And considering how often Apple makes audio devices, you may not be able to buy one of these brand new for much longer. It hasn't been discontinued yet, but price drops from Apple are really rare, so the future of the HomePod is uncertain at this point. I'd say, get your hands on one now, or even two, now that they support stereo audio with AirPlay 2, and save yourself some money now before trying to buy a new unopened one on eBay in 10 years for a few $1,000s.